Well, this was a game the Sens pretty much should win, and they did just that tonight. So they do win by a score of 2-0 over the Vancouver Canucks. Of course, the Canucks are the worst team in the league. Now, I don't love the way the Sens played during certain stretches in this game, but a 2-0 win is a 2-0 win. Um, but I am kind of thankful that this wasn't against somebody else, or else I don't think it would have been 2-0. Also, a shout out to James Reimer for posting his first shutout as a Senator. So there you go. So I did do a watch party for the game tonight, and I do want to give a shout out and thank you to everyone who stopped by. So, of course, once again, as always, with the watch parties, I do not take notes. Because, if you want to see my entire reaction to the game, it is in the watch party. And, yeah, just overall, this game, it felt a little bit like a snooze fest, especially in the first period. And it's funny, in the first period when it was scoreless, I think we were maybe 12, 13 minutes in. And you'll hear me say it during the watch party. I said, this game's going to end up 1-0. And I was pretty close. I mean, there was an empty netter as well, so I was basically right. And I do want to talk about that goal, by the way, the game winner, but we'll get to that. So, Game 63 of the season was played on Monday, March 9th against the Vancouver Canucks. It was a 9 o'clock p.m. start time. Worth mentioning here, this is the last time the Sens will play a game this season later than 7:30 Eastern. So, all their games remaining, they are all inside the Eastern time zone. Thank God. Because, I am a night owl. I do like the nighttime, but just, I'm not the biggest fan of doing watch parties late like this and the videos and all that. So, this is the last time I have to do it. So, there you go. I'm thankful, anyways. So, this was the second meeting of the season between these two teams. The Sens also won 2-1 in Ottawa back on January 13th. So, they do sweep the season series against the Vancouver Canucks. So, the starting goalies were, as mentioned, James Reimer for the Sens and Kevin Lankinen for the Canucks. And both goalies played really good. Lankinen made some really big saves as well. And Reimer, I didn't want to say anything, especially towards the end of the game. I'm like, especially when they got that empty netter, it's 2-0. I'm like, okay, well, there's just one thing left to be decided. I didn't want to say it because I am superstitious that way. But yes, he does end up posting the shutout. So the Sens were 31, 22, and 9 coming into tonight, and the Canucks were 19, 36, and 8 coming into tonight. And as mentioned, this team is dead last, and you can kind of see why. Just a lot of missed passes, a lot of missed shots. It felt like they missed the net like crazy tonight. Vancouver, that is. And yeah, again, I'll say it again. I don't love the way they played during certain stretches in this game, but a 2-0 win is a 2-0 win. They had to win this one. This was one they had to have, and they did it. And they go 4-0-1 on this road trip, so not really too much to complain about here. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at the stats for tonight's game. So the Sens win by a score of 2-0 over the Canucks, and they now improve to 32, 22, and 9, and Vancouver drops to 19, 37, and 8. So if you look at the stats, it's just kind of low event. So you look at the shots, 24 to just 16 against for the Sens. Now, they do have an off night in the faceoff dot again, 43.9%, 56.1% for Vancouver. And this is one of the parts of the game I didn't like, personally. They go 0 for 4 on their power play, and Vancouver has the worst penalty kill in the league. So that's something there if you want to nitpick. But their penalty kill was perfect. They do go 3 for 3 on the penalty kill, so I guess that ends up being kind of a wash there. Nobody scores on the power play, so yeah, again, if you want to nitpick at something that you didn't like about this game, the power play is probably going for 0 for 4 against the worst penalty kill, but it's fine when you win 2-0, I guess, right? So penalty minutes were 8 to 6 with Vancouver having the most. Hits were 28-22 in favor of the Canucks. Block shots 10 to 9 in favor of the Sens. Giveaways were 12 to 11 with the Sens having the fewest. and takeaways were apparently 9-2 in favor of the Canucks. And as mentioned, this was the final meeting of the season between these two teams, so they will not be seeing each other again until next season. This will not be a Stanley Cup final matchup this year. We do not have to worry about that. So, as mentioned, I did not take any notes because I did a watch party for it. So, we're just going to go through the scoring summary and the 3 stars. There's not much of a scoring summary tonight. So, the first goal, which ends up being the game winner, was scored by Ridley Gregg at the 10-11 mark of the second period. There were no goals in the first period. So, Pinto and Zub draw the assist here. This play was weird. I did not think this goal was going to count. So, initially, when the play happened real time, I saw it went off. I knew it went off of Pinto, and then Gregg scores. And then I'm like, hold on a second. Again, you can hear my reaction in the watch party. I was like, but where did that hit him? So they show the replay, and it shows, because Pinto, he goes like this. He kind of puts his gloves up to, because the puck was coming towards his face. And then the puck hits his glove, and it goes to Gregg, and the goal counts. So Vancouver actually challenged this, and they lost it. And I was so dumbfounded. And you can hear me say it multiple times during the watch party. I was so dumbfounded, and I still kind of am. Maybe I don't know what the rule is, but like, is that not a hand pass? I wasn't really complaining. I was just really confused. So the goal counts. The goal stands, and it's funny because going back to what I said earlier, I said in the first period this game was going to end up being 1-0, and it basically was because there was an empty netter. But the fact that that goal ends up being the game winner is just, it's crazy. So, as mentioned, there was an empty netter scored at the 1840 mark by Tkachuk, and Stützle and Chabot draw the assists. And Stützle extends his point streak to 13 games, and I believe that is the longest active streak in the NHL. So he's on fire. The whole team's on fire right now. So yeah, that's it for the scoring summary. There were only 2 goals tonight. So now taking a look at the box score here for the forwards, we've got Tkachuk and Gregg as the goal scorers, and Pinto and Stützle drawing an assist each. And we got Giroux, Tkachuk, Pinto, Stützle, and Gregg all +1. And Stützle leading in ice time with 1946. And Tkachuk and Dylan Cousins had the most shots with 4. And Pinto and Amadio had a block. And Dylan Cousins leads the way in hits with 4. And then on the defense, we have Zub and Chabot with an assist. And they were also +2. Everyone else was even. Ice time leader was Chabot with 24-29, and for shots we have Jensen, Spence, Matt-Paolo, and Clevin. They all had 1, and Clevin led the way in hits with 3, and Clevin also led the way in, he led the way in blocks with 3, and he also led in hits with 3 as well. So there you go. And of course, Reimer stops all 16 shots he faced for the shutout. And that is pretty much it. There's not really too much else to say. This is kind of a low event game. Both teams couldn't score on the power play. There were only 2 goals. 1 goal scored on a goalie. So it's funny because you look at the last game. The last game was 7-4 against Seattle. That was just a psychotic game. And then you followed up with this. But yeah, this was good, man. Also, side note, Jake Sanderson, he is out week to week, I believe it is. So, not good news if you're a Sens fan. They do have some tougher opponents coming up. They have been playing, like, I'm not going to try to discredit their hot streak here, but they have played some weaker opponents lately. You know, Vancouver, Calgary, the Leafs on this road trip. Even Seattle might be seen as like a weaker opponent, but they do have some tougher opponents coming up. So to that, what I will say is their next game will be against the Montreal Canadiens, and they have been, they've been playing well. It's really interesting when you look at the standings, because like they are 6-1-3 in their last 10, but they're only 4 points above the playoff line. So yeah, it's just it's insane. But they have been playing well. The Atlantic Division is just stacked to the roof because, of course, why wouldn't it be? And then you got Buffalo sitting at the top, but that's a story for another day there. So yeah, speaking of playoffs, the Sens now sit 3 points behind the Bruins for that last wildcard spot. So, oh boy, like it's hard to not get your hopes up with this team right now because of how well they're playing. They've won three in a row. They are 8-1-2 in their last 11. But I know what this team does sometimes. They get your hopes up and they just shatter it. So I do feel really good about this team right now, but they still have some work to do. So we'll see what happens. And yeah, that's about it, guys. So side note, I do plan to do a watch party for the game on Wednesday as well. So maybe I'll see some of you there. So yeah, that is pretty much it, guys. Low event game tonight, but the Sens do win by a score of 2-0 over the Canucks. And they end their road trip 4-0-1, and you'll love to see it. So I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. Thank you all so much for watching, and go Sens go.